Hello and welcome to Full Moon Effect. This is the podcast dedicated to a film-by-film analysis of full moon features and the work of Charles Band. My name is Patrick. Caz.
Oh.
Caz!
Oh, shoot. Sorry, I was a nothing head.
You were in the nothing head space. Well, if our viewers have watched Evil Bong High, they know all about nothing head.
It's quite the technique, honestly.
Yeah.
I thought I'd try it out myself after seeing the movie. You know,
all right.
It does take you into a zen-like state where you don't really know anything. You're just kind of existing and not thinking about anything.
Well, do you feel like your experience with your nothing head zen state has prepared you for this episode of Full Moon Effect?
Nothing could prepare me.
Okay. Yeah, no, nothing could have prepared us for the film that we just watched, which, as I mentioned, was Evil Bong High 5. So this is the first brand new full moon movie that we get to talk about on the podcast. Just premiered a couple of days ago on Full Moon Streaming on 4/20, appropriately enough. And we just watched, experienced, embraced this film, and we are ready to talk to you about it. But first, the news. We are going to do our little news segment where we bring everyone up to speed on the goings-on in the world of Full Moon. So there are a few things to talk about. Really, the big news is Evil Bong High 5 having just premiered. But there's a couple of more new productions that Full Moon has been talking about recently that are going to be coming out later in the year. The first is one that I'm pretty excited about, and that is David Delval, who makes a cameo appearance in Evil Bong High 5, a new series he's hosting called Haunted Hollywood. And Charles Band put out a vidcast kind of explaining what this is. We'll link to that below. But it sounds like it's essentially going to be a series of kind of classic or little-known horror films starring classic horror actors like Vincent Price and Christopher Lee. Yeah. Hosted by David Delval, who's a real expert on those kinds of movies. So this will be premiering on Full Moon Streaming. I think they're shooting for like a May or June premiere. So yeah, hosted horror films that kind of fill you in on some of the backstory of these movies and these actors. I love that kind of stuff personally.
Yeah.
And I'm a fan of a lot of those kind of, classic horror actors like Vincent Price and Christopher Lee. So I'm really looking forward to this series.
Vincent Price for sure is a big favorite of mine.
Absolutely. So that is something that's coming. And then also I think production just wrapped on something called Ravenwolf Towers. Now there's not a ton of information about this one. They call it both a series and a feature film. So I'm actually not quite sure what form it's going to take. I suspect it may be something like what they did with a movie called Trophy Heads, which they premiered a few years ago. It ran as essentially a mini-series.
They did that with like Storm of the Century too. The adaptation.
And then later they would edit it together into a feature. That's what Trophy Heads did. That's kind of what I'm thinking they may do with Ravenwolf Towers. The description is something along the lines of a new manager discovers dark secrets of a building that was at one time home to Hollywood elite. Sounds like it has kind of American Horror Story kind of vibe to me. So a couple of images have popped up for this online. So yeah, Ravenwolf Towers, something more to look for from Full Moon coming this summer. Finally, in Things to Buy news, in our first episode, Kaz, do you remember what movie we reviewed?
It was The Puppet Master.
It was Puppet Master. Yeah, we reviewed the first Puppet Master movie. And if for some reason you don't already have all of the Puppet Master films in your home video library, they have recently re-released a box set of the first 8 Puppet Master films. And now the first 5 films have been remastered. So it's a nice new presentation of those first 5 movies. And then, of course, it also includes Curse of the Puppet Master and Retro Puppet Master. So that's been re-released, remastered, and you can go to Full Moon Direct and buy that if you don't already own those films. I have a nice box set of the first 9 movies, I believe.
Really?
So, I don't know that I absolutely need to upgrade to this DVD set, but it definitely...
If it was a Blu-ray set.
If it was a Blu-ray, I would be tempted, and they do have Blu-rays of the first 5 as well. But if you don't already own these films, this would be a nice addition to your collection at home, I think. And that pretty much does it for the news for this episode. Right. So, Kaz, this is your moment. So get yourself in the zone here and summarize, if you can, the plot, such as it is, of Evil Bong High 5.
Well, it's actually not too difficult to summarize.
No, it's really
I think.
simple story,
it's
really.
Just very odd why the certain, more like on the line of the characters, kind of odd like why certain characters show up.
Yeah, this is very. At this point, I feel like in the Evil Bong franchise, and really just in Full Moon in general, it becomes very kind of in-jokey. There's a lot of characters and events that are references to things in other movies.
And that's what I was getting from this, too.
Yeah.
Having only seen the first one.
Yes.
So, going into this, basically what I surmised happened was this Ebe, yeah, Ebe.
The Evil Bong.
Yeah, the Evil Bong. She has the main, four characters trapped in the Bong realm.
Yep.
The Evil Bong realm.
The Bong world isn't big enough to contain my badass.
And, I can't remember any of the girls' names.
So it is Sarah...
Is the blonde.
And Felicity had the short blonde hair.
Okay.
And Sarah had the longer hair.
All right. Yeah, and then you have the two guys whose names I forgot too.
Larnell is the name of the young main character with all the great
Yes.
quips and one-liners, and then Rabbit is the
That's right,
kind of
Rabbit.
ridiculous
Rabbit.
Yeah.
So they're trapped in this realm, and they're just living it up high as fuck.
Yeah, high as fuck in this movie. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Larnell just reminds me a lot of, like I was telling you, like Dennis from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Just the way he talks. Just
Okay.
Dude, look at all the little EVs.
Quite funny.
I know, he
did a good job
had like a
in
lot
these
of really
movies.
good one-liners. Sometimes they would make absolutely no sense given the
Right.
context. Sometimes they made sense, and they were just like, wow, he really went there.
Yes, right.
And other times it was just a mixture of both. where
Yeah.
You couldn't really figure out what the intent of it was, but...
Let's be honest, this movie is called Evil Bong High Five. It premiered on 420, so I think it is sort of designed to be watched in some state of inebriation.
His whole shtick was just basically he's there to, like, just go through the motions and make quippy one-liners about every given situation.
Yeah. He's not a very active protagonist.
I mean, and it starts out with him making such quips with, like, the ladies next to him as they're trying to ponder getting out of this realm.
Mm-hmm.
And they go to consult Rabbit, the old guy who's playing Twister with a very hot, topless woman.
Yes.
And we also see that ginger dead man is there as well. And he's just there with his very creepily animated mouth effect.
Yeah.
That's always licking his chops like...
Yeah, super creepy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Gross.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's kind of almost a Greek chorus in this movie, just kind of commenting on the action in a very crude, rude way. As
He's just kind of there to be there. Although he kind of gets strung along into events more so in the second half with a woman named Candy.
Yeah, he's got his own little story.
Anyways, Evie shows up. They end up striking a deal. Mm-hmm. I mean, initially they were trying to ask Rabbit if he can know of a way to get out of there, because apparently, I guess he got out there before by doing the going into Nothing Head.
Nothing Head, yeah.
Which is like his way of, like, I guess, channeling the forces of the world or something and having a vision of clarity or...
Yeah. It's a Zen-like state.
Where he
that he's
finds the answers in or something.
Yeah.
To see if he can open a portal, I guess, like a rabbit hole, they call it.
Right, yeah.
Very Alice in Wonderland kind of, like, reference there.
Yep, some literary references here.
And, in fact, there's, like, a few references to things outside the source, like, that weren't Full Moon related, such as the Hellraiser comment they make, like, sights to show you.
Oh, I didn't even pick up on that.
The girls make.
Nice.
But, anyways, they can't manage to think of anything to help their predicament, so Evie shows up. They strike a deal with her that in order for her to, I guess, dominate the world, take over the world, she needs $1 million, which is strangely small a number.
Right. It's kind of like the Austin Powers movie, right? Like
$1 million.
I'm gonna rule planet Earth. I'll need some seed money, though. And that's where you motherfuckers come in. You're gonna sell my magic weed to all the stoner motherfuckers out there at an incredibly fucked up price.
But apparently that's what she needs. She's going to do it, man.
I mean, this takes place in our current timeline because they make a reference to Bernie Sanders. So obviously, like, it's a very topical movie that's taking place in our era. So $1 million doesn't seem like that would lead much in the way of dominating the world.
Yeah.
But that's what Evie wants.
That's what she
if
wants.
they can make $1 million within a certain time frame, I don't know if she ever established.
I think they said 30 days.
Okay.
Which seems like a reasonable amount of time.
They
really.
have to sell bongs that look like Evie.
Yeah, little mini Eevees.
Little Eevees that
Which
I guess will
you
spread
can
her
purchase
evil.
on Full Moon
will spread her
Direct, of
evil,
course.
I'm guessing.
Yep. Okay.
And they have to sell that and make $1 million, which I guess they're in the ripe area for doing such a thing because there's apparently a lot of people around the San Francisco area that can throw around like gratuitous amounts of cash.
They do pretty well on their
gratuitous
scheme.
amounts of cash from people that you wouldn't expect to have that much money.
Right,
but
a lot of interesting characters make their way into Evie.
Well, initially they're just kind of wasting a whole lot of time just getting high.
Yeah, sampling the wares.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For reference, the two men end up, Rabbit and keep forgetting his name. Larnell get sent back into the real world while the girls are left behind to deal with these. What are they?
The Punishers.
The Punishers, which are basically just very sexy, naked-looking women.
Prepare yourself for the Punishers,
who I guess try to sexually arouse you and like tempt you. Until...
I'm not sure what they were trying to do.
Because
to the
Evie
girls.
mentions that they have like a really violent streak, I guess, of like biting, like
there's a sadomasochistic kind of vibe going on.
Eating their way through chastity belts.
Yeah, which we did not actually get to see in the movie.
But they're like kind of tantalizing, like the women, and one of them, I think it was like Sarah, right?
Yeah,
is the one that like she's
kind
of getting into it.
She's into it. Yeah.
While the other one's just getting butt rubbed in her face, just like no.
Yeah.
But they're left to those.
Yep.
Two concubines down there. And in the real world, Rabbit and Lardell are just with Ginger Dead Man,
right?
Sent to try and sell $1 million. I mean, enough bongs to make $1 million.
If you're looking for weed, grass, koosh, pooch, stems, chemicals, stink, or skunk, go to one of our lousy competitors. But if you're looking for the finest of the fine, visit Evie's Magical Weed Dispensary, because we have the finest in town.
What ends up happening is, like you said, a bunch of colorful characters.
That's one way of describing them.
Come in. There's a guy who I guess was at the war in Syria. It made it sound like.
Yeah,
and he's got like skull face paint and stuff. He's like,
so weird.
All pumped up and like, what's going on? I want a bag of weed, not this one. He's just freaking out.
Yep.
And then you have the crackheads.
Yes. Yep.
Two hillbilly guys. One that looks like Billy the Cable Guy.
Yeah.
Larry the Cable Guy. Yeah. And another one that just looks like a weirdo, skinny Kurt Russell with an eye patch.
Yeah, and Joe Cracker, I think, is the name of that character. Okay. I believe he also was in the previous Evil.
What I got the sense of was a lot of those side characters were from other.
A lot of them have
movies.
Yeah, a lot of them have showed up
because one of the people that eventually shows up is like the guy with the pig nose, Hambo, who makes nothing but pig puns with his speech the entire time, and they were really dipping into the well with that.
They pretty much exhausted that.
And he had his squeeze Candy from the bowling alley.
Yeah.
Who Ginger Dead Man it was his first.
Yes.
And you get to see him plowing a Candy.
Yeah. And there's also a cameo by Ooga Booga,
who does it better than Ginger Dead Man, I guess.
Well, Ooga Booga, I think, is probably better.
So two puppets for this lady.
Yeah.
Anyways, like, he keeps taking pictures of all these side characters. Hambo keeps taking photographs of all these side characters that show up, and they do little pin-up advertisements of, like, Joe Cracker, buy from BadassToys.com, like a full moon product.
Yes, and indeed, you can go to BadassDolls.com and purchase these dolls. So it's a really weird kind of shameless bit of self-promotion, but it's sort of
and that's like most of the middle portion of the movie.
A lot of screen time is taken up with these badass doll characters.
And that's really all that happens. Like they have like a bunch of side characters get involved in either hijinks. There was Butt Pirate,
perfect.
Which is a really weird gay character that shows up with a movie crew.
Well, it's just a wonderful.
And I guess they're shooting enough of a movie, like a big enough movie, that they have enough funding to just dish out like $500,000 to these people for shooting on site.
Yep. And I will interject that the companions of a butt pirate who comes in on a chain, basically being pulled by David Delval is one of the guys who is accompanying Butt Pirate and wanting to make this movie. And the other gentleman was David Dakota, who we will talk a lot about in future episodes because he's directed a ton of full moon movies.
He looks like Ben Stiller's dad.
He looks like Ben Stiller's. Oh, that's David Delval.
That is David.
And the
okay.
other one is David Dakota. And these guys have been involved with Full Moon for a long time. They have done a lot of cameos in the more recent movies, so it's kind of funny to see them here. I actually think David Dakota is pretty funny on screen. He's a really interesting director too. So.
But anyways, like beyond that, what ends up happening is they're about $40K short of the 1 million. EB shows up. Their time's up. Some crackheads they turned away earlier end up coming back. And their shtick was that they had this really bruised up, sickly-looking woman that did all the work for them that made... she did tricks for nickels.
Yeah.
Nickels. So they come with, like, these giant sacks of nickels, about $40K worth of nickels.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they even make the comment that each one of these nickels was done with one specific action by her.
Right.
So she literally did...
fucked a lot of dudes.
Within enough time span to earn $40K in nickels.
Yeah, and that was... Crack Whore was that woman who also has a badass doll made of her.
So they make it in time, and then, Ginger Dead Man's going through his existential crisis with a...
Right.
Are you with him now?
It's just a gig, Sugar Dad.
He's crying. He snaps, decides he's going to go back to his killing ways and try to kill people.
Which I was excited about. I wanted to see the Ginger Dead Man kill some people. He was a little neutered in this
Hambo,
movie.
at least.
Yeah, he spent a lot of time kind of crying about his ex-girlfriend who was fucking all these other guys and other dolls. And I want him to get a little bloody at the end, but before he could...
Then Rabbit goes into his like zen-like state, nothing head, but reaches a whole new level of it, and I called it Deus Ex Machina. It ends up sucking Ebi into his like headspace along with Ginger Dead Man and Larda.
Yeah, a really weird ending, and it's super trippy
little descent scene to, I guess, hell.
Yes, and I don't think we'll ruin the very last kind of little tease at the end here, but let's just say it seems as though we will not have seen the last of Evil Bong with this movie, because I guess someone at Full Moon feels that 5 Evil Bong films just isn't enough.
Whoa, no.
Dude, that was an epic bong rip.
That's pretty much how the movie went.
So that was
the girls actually get out of the zone.
The girls get out of the zone
on
their own, with
a conveniently placed portal that's right next to them the entire time.
Yes, and the Punishers are left, to their own.
Poor Sarah wanted to take them with her.
I know Sarah got that girl's pretty hot. She got pretty into it by the end. So yeah, there's a lot of boobs, a lot of kind of lesbian action going on, a lot of very not politically correct characters who are
the Chinese man. The Chinese man was painful.
He's been in the last few of these Full Moon movies, and every time he shows up, it's just really cringe inducing. I was pretty nervous about the Butt Pirate actually showing up in this movie too, because I knew there was a doll of that character, but I don't know, I sort of like the Butt Pirate.
Well, he had a comedic charm to him, like whatever. I mean, it was kind of okay. The thing is, he was fully within his own personality doing that. That's just how he was, kind of thing. And the other one just felt more like a visual stereotype where they were just making it just to be
just
as offensive as possible.
Exactly. That's what it is.
The other one, it was just it felt more like a playful kind of thing where it's there's just this crazy sexually charged gay person is just come on, I just want to get going and do something.
Yeah. No, I did not mind Butt Pirate at all, and I would be happy to see Butt Pirate show up in another movie.
The other one too, I could have sworn it looked like his teeth were growing more and more in each shot. The Chinese guy.
Yeah.
When he first comes in, his teeth are these giant buck-toothed ones, and then later after he takes the picture, they're just these giant defenses.
Yeah, well, I think what happened there is they flashed back to when they first met that character in... God, I think Ginger Dead Man versus Evil Bong. I might be wrong about that, but I think that's when, I'm not even going to say what that character is actually called, but when that Bucktooth character actually first showed up. So they flash back to that when the prosthetic teeth were, I think, bigger than what they had in this movie. So there was a little kind of weird continuity gaffe, but, we can forgive them that. So what did you had not really been like an Evil Bong guy. You did watch the first Evil Bong in preparation for watching this movie.
I like that one.
Yeah, kind of fun. I mean, what did you think of this movie, Evil Bong High 5?
Oh, it was fucking awful, but
yeah.
But it had its ups and downs for me. There was points where I found it consistently funny, and other times where it was just like the scene wasn't doing it for me, and I kind of wished it would just get to its conclusion. Yeah. Like the one scene with the one grunge-looking guy, like the two sweaty, like stoner,
the greasy stoner dudes.
Yeah, there just wasn't a lot of humor in that scene, and it just dragged on too long.
Yeah, it's essentially it's really a series of comedic set pieces.
After the first like third of the film finishes, it's just a lot of just set pieces and skit comedy like playing over and over again.
And when it's funny, or it's funny, when it works, but you're right, I think there are a few of those scenes that fall flat, and they do kind of just seem to keep going and going. I mean, this movie has a very short runtime, but it made it feel longer than it actually was. Probably could have tightened some of that up, but humor is so subjective, and this is primarily a comedy. So
which is
your mileage may vary, perhaps depending on how much you've smoked before watching the movie.
If I was stoned, I would definitely enjoy this movie even more.
Yeah, but, and to be fair, I do think that it is kind of designed for that.
Right.
Hey, more power to you.
But no, like I mean, some of the characters were like very like they had an interesting flair to them, where it was just very eye catching, and it was fun to watch just the banter. But overall, I think my main enjoyment out of the film came from Lardell and his one-liners.
He's funny.
His reaction to everything was just so spot on, and just how he just kind of doesn't give a shit about anything. He's just kind of like just smoking like all the time, like, and then he just makes a quip.
I think he's perpetually mellow from all the weed that Larnell has.
My favorite scene, actually, although this one went on a bit too long as well, was the scene where I guess his grandpa or something shows up,
who had been in earlier films and returns now for this one.
Shows up, and he just starts laying him with like insult after insult. That was, some of them are very out there and creative too. Like,
even Larnell himself at one point says, "I gotta give it to you. That was a very creative."
And even
insult.
the Ginger Dead Man was just like, "Oh, he laid you."
Yes.
I mean, it was just stuff involving viper vaginas and freaking just.
Yeah, we should have written some of them down, because they were some really stellar insults. So that grandfather had been a character in earlier Evil Bong films, but I don't think he'd been in the last couple, so this was kind of a grand return for that character. And he had more of a storyline in earlier films, but he was kind of known for these really vicious insults. So I think they just wanted to bring him back and just have him at his most rude and be as creative and
but I feel like they chunked up a lot of the runtime though by having that scene go on for what felt like
it was long.
It felt like it went on for almost 10 minutes.
It was long and didn't really seem to, and it was not connected to anything else in the movie.
No, he just kind of shows
came
up
in and out, and unlike the other characters, did not come back in at the end. So it was, maybe
he didn't even contribute to them like getting them any money or cash either.
Right.
So it was just kind of
tacked on. Yeah, it very much was like, let's stop the movie, have this guy hurl insults for a few minutes, and then restart the film. So so I guess my own take is that it
wasn't a well shot movie either.
It's pretty tacky. It's pretty tacky looking. What can we say about the visual style of this film?
Editing was like almost non-existent.
Yeah.
It was just like basic cuts that just
I mean, the budget of these is obviously very low. The production time is like super fast. I mean, I know they made the last Evil Bong movie in like 2 days or something as far as like shooting time, So I mean, what can you say? This is kind of what the modern full moon looks like.
Kind of sci-fi original movie like.
Yeah, and that's almost a detriment to sci-fi original movies.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, though. Sci-fi original movies are actually shot way better than this.
That's what I'm saying.
Way better.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That kind of makes them look like Lawrence of Arabia or something. But I say this with affection, and honestly, like the evil, like I'm not like a Bong like stoner guy like at all, but I do sort of, there's a weird charm to these Evil Bong movies.
Oh, yeah.
And I think part of it does come from the fact that it's kind of the same small crew and cast doing all of these movies. And if you've seen other full movies, there's, tie-ins to those. And it just kind of has this weird kind of homemade charm to it beyond, There is a weird, it seems weird to say of all things about the Evil Bong films that they're charming, but there is a weird charm to them, I find. So, well, let's talk a little bit, before we run too long here, about the cast and crew. So the director...
My favorite original movies are actually shot...
And the grand poobah of all things Full Moon, so we don't have to explain who he is. It was co-written by Kent Rudbush. I'm not sure how that name is pronounced. From a story by Charles Band. And this guy is basically, he does a writing on a lot of the new Full Moon stuff. So he has also written the third and fourth Evil Bong movies, the great crossover film Ginger Dead Man versus Evil Bong.
Which I need to see that.
I recommend it.
Because I do like, one of my... As far as, the stuff I've seen of later Full Moon films, as far as, they're more comedy focused ones, I love the Ginger Dead Man.
Oh, yeah, you should definitely see Ginger Dead Man versus Evil Bong. That's when they really kind of merged into one franchise. So, yeah, that guy also wrote Ooga Booga and a movie called Zombies versus Strippers. So that's kind of what he does.
Is that, in the vein of some of those, really raunchy nurse movies from back then?
I hope that it is. I actually haven't seen it.
Really?
So
Okay.
I think that...
You know which ones I'm talking about,
yeah,
right?
Oh, yeah,
films.
the Candy Stripe Nurses and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we'll get to that one eventually, but I haven't seen it yet. So that's kind of our behind-the-scenes crew. And then our cast, Mindy Robinson plays the very sexy Phoebe. I actually had forgot that she was in the previous Full Moon film, the previous Evil Bong film as well. She worked at Rabbit's Bowling Alley in that movie. She returns in this one to help them out at E.B.'s Weed Emporium. She has done a lot of reality TV. She had very small uncredited roles in movies like Ted and Iron Man 3. This is very blink or you'll miss her kind of stuff. And she's involved in a lot of the newer Full Moon projects.
Reality shows has she been in?
Oh, God. You know what? There were so many that I was looking up.
Something about her was looking familiar to me. I'd seen her before, but...
Yeah, she's just one of those kind of, actresses, I think, trying to get her foot into legitimate Hollywood, but... It's spent most of her career with these kind of films, I think. Okay, I'm going to wait to talk about Robin Sidney and mention that John Patrick Jordan played Larnell. So as we said, he did a good job. Very funny. And he pretty much has done these movies. And that's kind of the case with a lot of the cast. So he was in all of the previous Evil Bong films.
Yes, he was in the first one.
As well as Ginger Dead Man versus Evil Bong. Amy Poffroth, I'm probably mispronouncing her name as well. She played the also very beautiful Felicity, so Larnell's other girl that was stuck in the Bong world for most of this movie. Felicity showed up for the first time in Evil Bong 2, then went on to appear in the third and fourth Evil Bong films, as well as Ginger Dead Man versus Evil Bong. And she is apparently the host of the reality show Dating Naked. Have you ever seen this reality show?
No, I've not even heard of it.
Oh, I've heard of it. It's horrible. It's a show called Dating Naked, and I thought, I heard that title and I figured it was like a metaphor. Like, maybe people go on dates and, in the first episode they have to reveal their deepest secret, right? And
that would actually be interesting.
That would be interesting. No, Dating Naked is literally about people dating while they are naked, not wearing any clothes. So this is apparently a show hosted by Amy Poffroth, but... let's see. Jacob Whitkin was the grandfather character. He has many film and television credits. He has appeared in the first 3 Evil Bong films as the grandfather character, but he's also been in Full Moon's Puppet Master: The Legacy, one of the later Puppet Master films, and a movie called Dr. Moreau's House of Pain from Full Moon.
Oh, I've seen that actually.
Oh, have you?
I think. I don't remember much about it, but I remember
a riff on the Dr. Moreau story. So interestingly, the actress Robin Sidney, who played Sarah Lee in this movie, she first appeared as this character in Ginger Dead Man. So she started out as kind of like the final girl in that movie.
Okay, that's where she was from.
Yeah, and then she kind of jumped over as the same character to the Evil Bong series, where she was in Evil Bong 420 and this film. She also played a character called Luann in the earlier Evil Bong films. So she played characters in both franchises. She was in the first 3 Evil Bongs as Luann, and she played both characters. So she played Sarah from the Evil Bong movies and Luann from the Sarah from the Ginger Dead Man movies and Luann from the Evil Bong movies. She played both characters in a scene in Ginger Dead Man versus Evil Bong.
Nice.
So she is really the bridge from this franchise. So this is the whole kind of twisted universe that Full Moon is operating in. And then another kind of character who has jumped franchises was Sonny Carl Davis, who did a great performance as Rabbit. He first showed up way back as that character in 1991's Trancers 2, the Tim Thomerson series. So that's what Rabbit's from. And Charles Band was so fond of the character, he brought him back for all 5 Evil Bong films. He was, of course, also in the oft-mentioned Ginger Dead Man vs. Evil Bong, and he appeared in movies like Seed People and Bad Channels, all for Full Moon. He's done a lot of other stuff, too. So this is that's what I mean. This is very much like kind of a family affair, this movie. Mm-hmm. A lot of pretty much everyone in this movie has been in at least one previous Evil Bong film. So, I think that's kind of fun to see the actors show up again. So, what are your kind of final thoughts on the movie here, Caz, before we wrap up? Do you recommend that people see Evil Bong?
It's weird. Like, I mean, if you just really want to, like a terrible movie,
you don't have to recommend it. You can warn people off of it if you want to.
It's one of those things where I feel like it's different strokes for different folks.
Well said. Absolutely.
I mean, it's a movie that if you like movies that are so bad they're good kind of thing, you will get some enjoyment out of this movie.
Easily in the so bad it's good category.
Yeah. Even though it's not like one of the better types of those kind of films, you'll get some laughs out of it for sure.
Should probably be at least a little bit high.
Yeah, if you're a stoner, watch this movie.
You probably already have.
But I mean, otherwise though, it's not a good film at all.
No. We cannot call it good under any
in any kind of degree. I think the most praise I ended up giving the film was like at the beginning with the credits.
Oh yeah, you did like the opening credit sequence
because not so much for how well it was executed necessarily, just the fact that they actually bothered to do this like really lengthy intro sequence, kind of like effects heavy, title card thing, because that's something I feel like is dying in films nowadays. You don't see these like magnificent opening credit crawls anymore with like cool effects. And I was comparing it like how like David Fincher in every one of his movies almost he always has like I mean, just bringing him up more as like a style, like that's a style as a comparison. He does this with all his movies, and that's something that not a lot of directors do.
So you're saying this movie is as good as a David Fincher movie?
Yes. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo intro sequence has nothing on this.
Right. No, I agree with you. That was a cool little bit, and that's one thing I like about looking at movies like these. It's like it's mostly trash. But you can find little gems, little moments here and there.
You're just like, how is it this movie's doing this and not like most of Hollywood nowadays?
Right. So take note, Hollywood. Take a look at.
I want my 5-minute intro sequences back for movies.
Yes. Okay. Well, so that's something you liked about it. So we'll wrap it up on a positive note and kind of put a bow on our. Well, I mean, I like I said, I agree. It's not a good movie. I think you kind of have to be all in with Full Moon already to get a lot out of this movie. There's a lot of references and kind of in jokes and things like that. So I think you have to have some level of investment. You don't have to have seen like every Full Moon Evil Bong movie, but it helps to already kind of care about this stuff a little bit going in. So it's a very, very, very specialized audience for this. So I wouldn't do like a wide recommendation for it. But like I said, it has its charm. You know what I mean? There was something I liked about it.
I certified as proceed with caution.
There you go. Enough said. All right, Caz. That is. I guess that'll about do it for our discussion of Evil Bong High 5. So if you guys haven't watched it yet on Full Moon Streaming, go watch it. Because if you're watching this podcast, you are in deep enough that I think you would get something.
I would believe that most people watching our podcast are probably Full Moon people.
Yeah, well, it was really fun getting to look at a brand new Full Moon movie, and hopefully we'll be able to do a lot more of that this year as some of these new films come out. But on our next episode, we are returning to our chronological examination of the Full Moon filmography and taking a look at one from the golden age of Full Moon, 1990s post-apocalyptic sci-fi thriller Crash and Burn. Have you seen this one, Caz?
I've heard of it. I don't think I've ever watched it. If I did it, I don't remember anything about it.
It's not bad, and there's a giant robot in it. So we will be discussing that on our next episode. I also wanted, at the close of the show here, to plug a fellow Full Moon YouTuber called Jester Mikey. If you're a Full Moon fan, you definitely need to go subscribe to this guy's channel. We're going to provide a link below. He specializes in the collectibles. Mm-hmm. So I literally think he has everything. Like every doll, every toy, every edition of every DVD. He shows them off in these really great, fun videos. So definitely check out fellow Full Moon fanatic Jester Mikey. He does a great job and is one of the inspirations for the Full Moon effect. So keep doing your thing, Jester Mikey, and everyone check out his channel. Be sure to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel if for some unfathomable reason you haven't already done so. You can also like us on Facebook and check out the Brain Says Strange Things show on the Patrick Markfort YouTube channel for more of me. That is a horror movie show that I host with my brother. We just discussed the new Star Wars film in our latest episode. So for my thoughts on that and other films, check out Brain Says Strange Things on YouTube. And I think that about does it. Any parting thoughts, Caz?
No, excuse me. I'm just going to go back into Nothing Head.
Caz is going to go back into Nothing Head, and we are going to see you next time on The Full Moon Effect. I'm going to join you, Caz.